Garden Life is a cozy simulator game where you get to create the garden of your dreams, watch it grow, and customize to your heart's content, all accompanied by a charming cast of characters and touching narrative. And you can play it right now. Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sarah Sunstone, and today I will be sharing a first look at Garden Life, a cozy simulator. In this game, you get to restore a forgotten plot into a flourishing community garden within a peaceful, colorful world. The mechanics offer grid-free placement and procedural plant growth simulation, so no two plants will ever grow exactly the same. Developed by Still Alive Studios and published by Nacon, who kindly sponsored today's video alongside Daredrop. So, without any further ado, let's get into the gameplay. For my first look at Garden Life, I opted for story mode because I like quests, I like guidance, I like having objectives, okay? What can I say? I do well under a bit of direction, plus I like how rewarding it feels to unlock new mechanics as you progress in a game. But I love that there's a creative mode, so if you just want to create a garden with no restrictions, all tools at your disposal, you're free to do so. Now, I was immediately introduced to Jasmine and pleasantly surprised with the fact that this game is voice acted.
Thanks a bunch for stepping up and volunteering. This garden really means a lot to us.
That's a green flag for me. Jasmine was super sweet and basically helped me through the tutorial of learning how to weed my garden, make compost to fertilize my plants, dig up dead plants, and plant new seeds. The circle of life. I was also super interested to learn how it's important to actually keep some weeds to help control pests, but not too many that they take over your garden, which sounds like a really healthy amount of challenge that I'm always up for. Because let's be real, sometimes cozy games are just too easy. Another unexpected, pleasant surprise was how captivated I became with the story. It was heartwarming to learn that this was in fact a community garden that I would be volunteering my time to rebuild and restore, yet heartbreaking to further learn that the community recently lost someone named Robin who was previously in charge of the project. So with that narrative in mind, I got to planting my first roses and daffodils. Once I figured out the controls, I loved how much freedom of placement we're given. There is no grid at all, so you can plant seeds with so much flexibility. At this point, I also switched from playing keyboard and mouse to using a controller because I was ready to kick back and get comfy with this game. I also have to say the controller support is awesome, except for the fact that on Steam it didn't have button prompts for a PlayStation controller, so I just had to use my brain to figure it out. That's what the brain is for, so we're good. I would definitely recommend playing with a controller overall compared with keyboard and mouse. I personally found the experience to be much more enjoyable and much smoother, but I'm also a controller girly, so I'm a little bit biased. So now that I was super comfy and ready to sink some serious hours into this game, I explored the area of the garden that I had access to. I noted the broken bridge that I was guessing I would have to fix, along with a beautiful greenhouse off in the distance, and then of course I investigated the very aesthetic shed. I was surprised to meet an adorable little kitty who I was delighted to discover that yes, I could pet. I checked out Robin's old plant book, which contained useful information about different types of flowers. I familiarized myself with the different storage units I had access to, along with a crafting table that I couldn't yet use, but I was excited to figure out how that would come into play. I also took note of the to-do list posted on the wall, which I imagined was filled with tasks that I would eventually have to do. I learned that there is a clock in the game that you can look at, and the game will suggest when you should go home, but in my experience, when I would just stick around the garden past that suggested time, I never had the day end on me, I was never punished, my girl wasn't fainting or passing out or anything like that. I would just hang around and enjoy myself until I was ready to leave. So I never felt rushed, and I really liked that. With that, I felt like I had done everything I wanted to do for my first day, so I headed back to the bus stop to head home. Which brings us immediately to the next day and an introduction to the request system. So you'll get requests from characters in your mailbox, which you can accept and complete in exchange for the game's currency, which is florins. In my experience, there was no expiration on these quests, so you can really just take your time with them. My first request was from Jasmine, who wanted to make a gift for her fiance, but was missing some daffodil cuttings. So I thought this was so adorable, and luckily I already had daffodil daffodils planted, so I just needed to collect 8 for her. At this point, I had no idea how to collect the flowers I had planted, and I was wondering what exactly I was going to spend my money on if I were to earn any, and as if the game could hear my thoughts exactly, both of my questions were quickly answered with Leslie's introduction. Leslie shared that she had her own garden store that I could visit in the village, which honestly, I was shocked to learn existed because I thought I would just be spending all of my time in my garden. So of course I had to go check out this village right away, and to my delight, it was absolutely charming. Seriously, like something straight out of a storybook. I also loved the vibes of Leslie's garden store and immediately wanted to become besties with Magical Mr. Toad. Browsing the catalog available, I was thrilled to see the variety of items with so many cute pieces of decor that I needed. These are not wants, you guys. These are needs. And there was even a spooky collection available, so you can give your garden a makeover for spooky season, or it can be a spooky season all year round. That's a win. I also made it my main mission to eventually acquire the Capybara Pond, because how awesome does that sound? As starry-eyed as I was over all these cute items, I knew I would need to invest my money in some practical items first, so I browsed the different seeds and tools Leslie also had to offer, and then treated myself to some free secateurs and free pest spray. I was also today years old when I learned what secateurs were. Thanks, Leslie. While I was in the village, I also learned that Robin and Jasmine used to have a Pavillion project in the works, but due to the circumstances, it's been closed for now. I'm intrigued, but we'll learn more about this later. So dangerously armed with secateurs in hand, I headed back to the community garden to get to work. I was yet again surprised by the precision with which you can use these bad boys. You can pick exactly where you want to cut the flower from and how much stem is left behind. You can also prune and trim the plants you have, leaf by leaf, branch by branch. I am not kidding you guys. It is crazy. So I'm sure you can get really creative with how you shape what you grow. But honestly, I was just having fun snipping and chopping away. I was also able to complete Jasmine's request for daffodil cuttings to earn some florins and of course help out a friend. And with my newly earned money, I was still thinking about all the cute decor I wanted to acquire, but I didn't even need to spend any of my earnings to start making my garden cute because I was treated to a couple of free frog garden ornaments from Leslie, who at this point has seriously hooked us up. Honestly, let's go Leslie. After placing the frogs to guard the broken stone bridge, I decided to head back to the bus stop to start another new day. Now this was my first rainy day, and to match the more somber vibes, I actually met Robin's sister Lori, who introduced me to growing climbing plants, which was something Robin was looking into adding to the garden before they passed. And let me tell you guys, this was the magical moment in the narrative for me where it truly hit that we will be creating a beautiful community garden in honor of Robin to carry on their passion, their work, and their legacy. And I was all in. Lori gave me a wooden trellis style divider and told me that Robin had left some ivy seeds in the shed. So I put all the pieces together and was super excited to see how the plants would climb as they grow. The feature of plants adapting to their environment and climbing certain objects when planted near enough was something that drew me in just from the game's description, so I was excited to try it out for myself. Leslie also taught me that sometimes plants will glow, which means they have seeds to harvest. This was a huge relief to me because I was worried that I'd have to sink all my florins into buying more seeds, which would set me back on my mission to buy all the cute things. But the coolest part about this new mechanic is that if you're lucky, you can even harvest new colors of flowers from the existing plants you're growing. And brace yourselves because shockingly, the next character I was introduced to was Robin, who was surprised I could hear them and has been observing my progress without wanting to startle or overwhelm me, a considerate ghostie. Fortunately, Robin was pleased with the progress I'd made so far, so I could breathe a sigh of relief and rest assured that although I would now be haunted throughout my gardening endeavors, it would all be in good spirit. I'll see myself out. Robin introduced me to their unfinished to-do list that I had eyed earlier, filled with items they wanted to complete for the deserving community who could find space and comfort in this garden to reflect and relax. They requested that I try to complete these items on their behalf with no pressure, of course, and honestly, I was happy to help. But for now, I decided to tend to my plants before heading home because I think I deserve a good rest after my unexpected ghost encounter. On the next day, we were treated once again with rain. And I say treated because on rainy days, we don't have to water our garden. I also think this is a great place to note that along with the voice acting, both the soundtrack and sound design are very soothing and very well done. Robin's ghost made another appearance to share that the bench they wanted to install, an item on her to-do list, was actually first and foremost for Leslie. Honestly, the way the characters all speak of one another with such kindness was just so touching to me and gave me all the warm and fuzzies. And of course, we have to build a bench for Leslie. I mean, she's already done so much for us, given us all sorts of free stuff to help our efforts, brighten our garden, and most importantly, she's given us a welcoming heart and a helping hand. So I consulted my crafting bench to see what we could whip up. And also learned that we would be able to craft bouquets with the flower clippings we would collect. Isn't that so cool? I don't know why I didn't expect that. There was also a pretty extensive catalog of craftable items available. Pawns, pots, assorted decor, even some wintry festive items. But I needed to focus. I needed to make the squirrel bench specifically, which required normal boulders, normal rocks, and normal stones. Not gonna lie, my eyes kind of glazed over when I realized that I would have to distinguish between normal and mossy rocks along with boulders, rocks, and stones. But my genius solution was just to literally fill my bag and toolbar with every stone I could find. I literally left no stone unturned, as they say. I then crafted the squirrel bench no problem and placed it in my garden. Unbothered by the fact that my bag was still filled to the brim with rocks, I then set off on my bike to the village square to tell Leslie about the new addition to the garden. To thank me for the bench, she would arrange a market stall to be built for me by one of her customers, who just happens to be a carpenter. So we're well on our way to checking off another item from our to-do list. She also asked if I could help provide some bouquets for the carpenter's sister's wedding, and I was very excited at that idea. So I headed back to my garden to accept the request and get to work. In total, we would need 5 red rose bouquets, 5 yellow daffodil bouquets, 5 yellow sunflower bouquets, and 5 red poppy bouquets. Leslie's love language must be gift-giving because she also gave me some sunflower and poppy seeds to plant, so we're off to a great start with this quest. I was surprised that along with my reward of the garden stall, I would also be making 750 florins. Capybara pond, here I come. But not so fast. To my dismay, because I had weeded all the weeds, some of my precious plants had developed a bit of a pest problem. But luckily, I had already claimed my free bug spray from Leslie's gardening shop, so a little spritz here and a little spritz there, and we're good as new. I went around tending to all the lovely flowers, and I just love how the plants respond when you water them after becoming dried out. They literally dance their way back to life right in front of your eyes. It is super satisfying. At this point, the ivy was now starting to climb the trellis. My poppies and sunflowers had also grown in, so now I had all the types of flowers I needed for the order of bouquets, except I needed a lot of trimmings to craft them. So I applied some of the Speedy Grow fertilizer I had an abundance of from all the compost I had processed to this point. I was stunned to see upon using this fertilizer, you can literally watch new flowers grow in front of your eyes. I really wanted that market stall, so at this point, I basically just rinsed and repeated this process to continue accumulating lots of flower trimmings. I also realized that you need 50 red roses to make one bouquet, so I went snipping away at my red rose bushes to pull this one off. Don't worry, they'll grow back. I hope. At this point, I had all the bouquets I needed minus the sunflowers because these only grow one flower at a time in comparison to the other types which grow multiples. So I decided to call it a day and complete this quest after a good night's rest. The next day, I was super excited to discover a new plant variant, the wild poppy. So I went ahead and planted those as I tended to my garden, did my dailies, and collected more sunflower clippings. I completed a request for Lori, who wanted 30 red rose cuttings since they were Robin's favorite, which earned me 40 florins. And as I sifted through a couple other requests, I noticed that I was missing white hellebores and red tulips, which were wanted by Lori and Jasmine respectively. So what better way to spend time waiting for my sunflowers to grow than heading into the village to pick up some new seeds. Doing my best to not get distracted, I put blinders up and focused on just picking up the 2 new flower varieties to help me fulfill more requests. I then headed immediately back to my garden to plant them. Also, at this point, I've composted so many materials that I have all sorts of speedy grow solution. I definitely started using it more generously than I had before, which helped me complete more requests more quickly. I managed to craft one more sunflower bouquet thinking it was the last one I needed, but nope, I still needed one more, so I threw in the towel for the day, headed to the bus stop, and knew that tomorrow I would finally be able to complete this big request. I started the next day by doing my dailies, weeding the garden, creating more compost, watering dried plants, and harvesting new seeds. Today I discovered a red daffodil, so now I have red, orange, and yellow, though I'm not entirely sure when exactly I discovered the orange variety, but hey, I certainly won't complain. After taking care of the garden, which included an impromptu run back into town to stock up on some more pest spray, I immediately went to trim up the sunflowers, craft the final bouquet, and submit the big order to the delivery box. Jasmine then stopped by to let me know that the stall was already being worked on and that she was hoping I could drop by the pavilion in the village when I had a chance. She shared that she actually wants to open it back up again, which was super exciting to hear, especially since I soon after learned that Robin had no idea the pavilion had been closed down in the first place and couldn't wait for me to see it. So of course, at this point, I am so intrigued. But I decided that I would go check out the pavilion on the next day and instead opted to complete some more requests to earn money before enjoying a moment of zen to wrap up the day, peacefully watering away at all the flowers I've been growing. And I also discovered pink poppies that day, which I love pink, so I was super happy. The next day, I went straight into the village center and was treated with being introduced to my brand new garden stall. From here, I can sell my flowers and bouquets outside of requests, so if I have extra flowers of any type, I can earn extra money, which let me say is great news for my capybara pond. I then went over to check out Jasmine and Robin's pavilion because at this point I still have no idea what to expect from it, and let me tell you, I was completely thrilled by the addition of this new mechanic. Like, it literally put a smile on my face, you guys. Jasmine shared that her and Robin wanted to create something together to honor the people in the village who they really care about. So they crafted all sorts of statue frames, and along with each of these frames is a list of flowers that Robin planned to use to create flower statues, which we can now contribute to. And apparently we can even earn adorable prizes from doing so, but regardless of the prize incentive, I absolutely love this idea for an extra project to take on alongside the main gameplay loop. Although I didn't get around to completing any of the statues just yet, I can't wait to dive back into the game and do exactly that. Some other projects that are still on the horizon for my gameplay include restoring the broken bridge, making use of the abandoned greenhouse, completing Robin's plant book, and honestly, who knows what else. But I'm sure many of you are wondering, did I ever get my capybara pond? Well, eventually I did after completing quite a number of requests, and let me tell you, it is adorable. All in all, Garden Life, a cozy simulator, offers hours and hours of content to enjoy, where you can take on as little or as much as you would like, all at your own pace. There is amazing potential for free building, but also the option to immerse yourself in a heartfelt story with charming characters and progression-based unlocks. You can pet cats, make friends, create the garden of your dreams, complete fun flower-based requests, or just zen out and enjoy the atmosphere. But these are just my first impressions after about 5 hours of gameplay. If you're interested in checking out this new cozy title, it is available now on Steam, PlayStation 4 and 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, and it will be out for the Nintendo Switch on March 14th. So if you'd like to check out the game, you are more than welcome to use the link in the video description. I don't receive a kickback, but it does help tell the team that you found the game through our cozy community. Thank you again so much to Nacon and Daredrop for taking care of creators like me and sponsoring this lovely experience. Be sure to let me know down in the comments if you'll be playing Garden Life, a cozy simulator, which adorable piece of decor you just have to have, anything and everything. You know I always love hearing from you. Please go ahead and shine the lovely like button if you love cozy games with wholesome vibes. And with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. I love you all, and until next time, take care.